I just want to talk about cementing crowns, okay, and just kind of go through the process and the materials that we use. First, the four kinds of crowns that we make here are either zirconia, Emax, PFM, or gold. Gold, I'm going to say 0.00001%, okay, of crowns we make are gold. If we were having this conversation 30 years ago, it would be a lot more than that. Okay, so basically, it's not even a factor. PFM is porcelain fused to metal. Okay, those used to be the crowns that we made, but not anymore, because now we have zirconia, which is just as strong, and it doesn't have any metal associated with it. So zirconia is an all porcelain crown. It doesn't have any metal in it, but it's very, very, very strong. Okay, there's even, I think Lido Lab used to have a commercial where they would put a zirconia crown on a countertop and somebody would hit it with a hammer, okay, just to show how strong it is. So it's a very strong material. The problem with it is it's not aesthetic. Okay, I mean, it's fine, it's aesthetic, but it has a dull feel to it because the light cannot go through. For a porcelain crown to look alive, okay, it has to have the light go through it and reflect off of it. Both things make it look like enamel, like a true tube. With zirconia, it reflects off of it, but it doesn't go through it. That's why we cannot use the light, okay, to cure the cement when we cement a zirconia crown. And I'll go through why do we use the light with it every once in a while. So the fourth one is Emax. Emax is an all porcelain crown that is much more aesthetic than the rest, and easy to use. The reason we would use Emax, the reasons are if we're really concerned about aesthetics and if we want to do a same-day crown. Why is there a difference between doing a same-day crown when we're dealing with zirconia and when we're dealing with Emax? Zirconia comes in a chalky form. Let me you go with zirconia. The lab has the zirconia material in this disc, okay, and it's actually chalky. You can see it's not strong. We can mill it off of this, but we cannot put it in somebody's mouth, okay, because it will just fall apart. So what we have to do is we have to put it in an oven, okay, called a sintering oven. And sintering is getting all these little particles to coalesce together they become one piece, becomes very, very hard. And for you to put it in the sintering oven for the adequate amount of time, you're looking at about 8 hours. So needless to say, that takes the possibility of doing the same day crown with zirconia out of the equation, okay? The other one, the Emax, comes in this form, and it's already very hard porcelain, okay? So you don't need to put it in a sintering oven. You literally just kind of cut it, and now you have a porcelain crown. But it all comes in this purple color, and you have to put it in a glazing oven for about 15 minutes for it to actually take its color and for it to become the porcelain crown that we want. Okay, cool. So these are the four crowns: gold, PFM, zirconia, Emax. You basically can remove the gold and PFM out of the equation. We're basically making zirconia and Emax crowns. Okay? Now, zirconia, as I mentioned, is very, very hard. So one of the properties with zirconia is that you cannot etch it. So you have to basically cement it, as if we have a metal crown, as if we have a gold crown. It just needs to be cemented onto the tube. The two cements that we use here in the office are either this right here, okay, which is Fuji Cem, or this, which is RelyX Universal. Okay. Fuji Cem and RelyX are both kind of resin cements. This is glass ionomer cement. You don't have to remember this. This is a purely resin cement. So what does that mean? They're both curable. You can cure them with the light. And two, they bond, okay, to the tooth. When you're cementing, okay, cementing, not bonding, but cementing a zirconia crown, you can use this. You basically just clean the tooth. You place some of the Fuji Cem in the crown. You put it on. You clean the excess. You can cure a little bit, the margins or not. It doesn't really matter. Have the patient bite down on it with a cotton roll for about 2 to 3 minutes, and we're basically done. Okay. So when we have a zirconia crown, we either do this or we do this. But with this being a RelyX being a we'll call it a resin cement, okay, we have to use the bonding agent with it. So you place bonding agent onto the tooth, you place the cement into the crown, cement it on, clean the excess, floss that area, hit it with the light a little bit on the margins, clean it with either an Explorer or scaler, have the patient bite on it for about 2 minutes and you're done. Okay? So zirconia is cemented on. All you need is either this or this. That's it. I don't like this that much because I've seen it create a lot of sensitivity in patients' teeth. So this is perfect for an endodontically treated tooth, or if you're dealing with a tooth that hasn't been prepped that much. I like this one because it has zero sensitivity and it's very retentive. I really like this, okay? But again, an endodontically treated tooth that we're cementing a zirconia crown on, we can use this. But again, zirconia, this or this. And I'm saying the word cemented on. You just cement it on. You place some cement and you place it on. And by the way, placing the cement into the crown, do not fill the crown with the cement because it makes it just from the hydraulic pressure, it makes it very easy to seat it all the way. So it does two things after you've actually seated onto the tooth. One is it can leave a little bit of space in the margins, so open margins, and two, makes it hard for the patient to bite on. Okay, it just makes it high. Okay, Emax. One of the nice features of Emax is that you can actually bond it onto the tooth. Not just cement it, but bond it, okay? And there's a difference between if I place cement and place it on a tooth or if I just bonded them together, okay? So bonding them together makes it a lot more of a strong bond, again, between the crown and the tooth itself. For you to bond the porcelain crown, which is Emax, onto the tooth, you have to really bond to two structures. You bond to the tooth, and you bond to the porcelain, okay? For you to bond to the porcelain, you have to do the following. The first thing you do is you gotta etch the porcelain, okay? And we etch it with this yellow etch, which is hydrofluoric acid. Hydrofluoric acid etches porcelain. Porcelain and resin, which is this resin cement, don't like each other that much. To make them like each other, to make them bond together, you use a silane agent. Silane agent is only used onto the porcelain, okay? So we have to have the yellow etch, we have to have the silane agent, and those are the two things that allow the resin cement to bond onto the porcelain. In terms of the tooth itself, okay, we can use the blue etch the bond, and now the dentin, the tooth structure is ready to be bonded onto. Does that make sense? Now, my understanding is the Scotch bond, the 3M Scotch bond that we use is both, it has both a primer and a bond, okay? Which means that it actually etches as well as bonds, both in one swoop. So you really don't need to use the blue. But if you really want to be completely positive that you've etched the tooth, you can use this and then use this with it. But using this as well as that onto the tooth means things are gonna bond to the tooth. So we prepared the porcelain for bonding, we prepared the tooth for bonding, and now we use cement, okay, the resin cement onto the crown, place it on, clean around it, clean the in between the tooth, the crown and the tooth in front of it, and we hit it with the curing light. The difference between zirconia and Emax is that when you actually use the light with Emax, it actually goes right through the crown. Okay, so you can cure the cement that's underneath the crown. With zirconia, you cannot. So you can place the crown onto the tooth, clean around it, okay? Hit it with the light just slightly in the beginning, clean everything from around the margin, and now you can cure it for about 40 seconds, 60 seconds. Cure it from this side, occlusal, and so on. Once you do that, it's done. You don't have to have the patient bite on anything, okay? Because now everything is solid, everything has been cured, okay? So, and usually we use Emax with same-day crowns. So when we have same-day crowns, when it's time for us to cement the crown onto the tooth, I need to see, one, the yellow etch, the silane agent, blue etch, the bonding agent, and the cement. These things have to be in the room when we're actually doing an Emax crown. They do not have to be in the room when we're doing a zirconia crown. When we're doing a zirconia crown, all I need is either this or this. And for me personally, I like this one more. But I can use either one. Does that make sense? So the reason I'm doing this, I've noticed a lot of times that I would go into a zirconia, let's say, to cement a zirconia crown, and I would see all of this being there, or you guys are going to get, we don't need any of this, okay? Any of these are not needed for the zirconia. Only these. For Emax, all of these are needed. Make sense? Cool? Good. Thank you.
I do.
Of crowns that are, I want to use the word debond, or that are not on the tooth anymore, are usually zirconia. Okay? It's from the cementation. Bonding a porcelain crown to a tooth, very rarely do they debond. It happens, of course, okay, it does happen, but very rarely does it happen. So, I would say the go-to should be, when we re-cement emergency exam and re-cementing a crown, it should be just this. Okay? With the understanding that it might change, okay? But 90% of the time, it's this.
Cool.
You can, if it's an existing patient, I think you can also look at the X-ray before. You should be able to distinguish zirconia crown versus Emax. Emax is going to be translucent. Yeah. If it's a new patient, then we really don't have much to work with. But when we try it in to probably take the bite, we can know.
Zirconia crowns, when you take an x-ray of a zirconia crown, it looks like you're taking an x-ray of a metal. Okay, it's very white, very what's called radio opaque. It just looks like metal. I mean, it's that dense, that hard. When you're taking an x-ray of an Emax crown, it's radiolucent. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the light goes through it. So that's the main difference of making it more aesthetic. Okay, and that when you're using the curing light on it, it cures it well. It just penetrates through it. With zirconia, you can use the light on it from now till tomorrow. It won't go through it, so it doesn't really matter. You just have to give it the time for the resin cement to harden. And the resin cement that we use is what's called dual cure. What does that mean? Dual cure means that it cures from the light as well as on its own. So I can squeeze that and put it here somewhere, and I come back to it 2-3 minutes later, and it's hardened. If it's just light cured, if we're having a light cured material, I can put it here somewhere without a light, okay, and leave it there for 2 weeks and come back and it's still soft, okay, because it hasn't been cured by light. The light initiates a chemical reaction. It has materials called hydroquinones in it that when you hit them with the light, they polymerize. So polymerize, which means that they just kind of bond together and they become a hard material. So I can't remember what I was talking about. Why was I talking about? About zirconia. So zirconia, you can't go through it with the light, so it doesn't really matter in terms of curing that. The reason why we do use the light with zirconia, and I only use it, 10 seconds on the facial and same on the lingual, is that I'm able to remove whatever excess cement in there. Now it's a little hardened, okay, and I can kind of flick it off with either the scaler or the explorer. This is not with cementation, but with Emax, the main thing is that you need to have enough reduction in the tooth structure so that the thickness of the crown of the porcelain is there to give it the strength. If it's too thin, it'll crack. Zirconia won't crack. I mean, anything can happen, but won't crack. Emax will if it doesn't have the proper thickness to it, especially on the occlusal surface. In my opinion, any tooth that has been endodontically treated, good idea to use Emax, because you can reduce the tooth as much as you want and you're not worried about getting too close to the nerve and hitting the nerve and so on. I love Emax, okay? Why? Because I don't have to deal with making the temporary coming off of the patient's tooth, waiting a week, having come back, okay, for us to cement. The tooth is sensitive, sometimes you have to numb and so on. Everything is done in one swoop. The patient loves it, I love it. In my opinion, if I can make a same-day crown, I'm making the same-day crown. Especially with the setup that we have here, with having a lab and a lab technician and all this stuff, so I don't have to physically do it. I have people that can do it for us. So for me, that's the go-to restoration. Any questions? Clear? Thank you very much. I think we should be ready for that crown and